Hello and welcome to the Moth Folk Studio podcast. I'm Suni and I'm here to share with you about all of the crafty, creative, artsy things that I've been up to the last 2 weeks. So there's so much to talk about today, and I should probably just get started because we're going to be going over, as you saw in the title of the video, yes, I'm going to be designing and knitting my very own wedding dress, which I'm sure is scary for some and exciting for others, so we'll run through it. Sort of towards the end, I also have my very first pattern that I've written, which I am launching a test knit for today. In the description below, there's an application if you'd like to sign up. And then I have some finished objects and whip updates for you. I also have to mention that the lighting in this room today is a little bit weird. I think just with shifting into fall and changing sun patterns, everything's a little bit darker and moodier in here, but hopefully you can still see things, and I'll pop in videos throughout the video so that you can see colors better, because socks like this just aren't quite showing up right. Okay, let's get started with the pattern that I designed that I'm so excited about. This is the September Scarflette is what I'm calling it. It's very much a mini scarf or like Sophie scarf inspired kind of a thing. Just something small to be able to toss in your bag. And let's see. So it features a seed stitch. Let's see if we can get that to focus. No. It features a little bit of a seed stitch ribbon, which I think is really lovely. And then it increases into a nice stockinette band, and it maintains the seed stitch border, which I'm hoping that photos are showing it better than the camera is. So this little scarflet is very small, it's very lightweight. I knit this out of the Road to China Light by Fiber Company. This is the colorway Smoky Quartz, and I'm sure that the color is not really doing any justice on the screen because it is this very like chocolatey brown, but there are also distinct undertones of like a periwinkle. It's kind of like this color under a chocolate brown. It's really cool yarn. It's some of my favorite yarn. So I have some of this in scrap stash, and I thought, well, what can I make that's a little tiny scarflet, kind of like the Sophie scarf, but I want to just freeform design. So I came up with this, and I'm calling it the September Scarflet. It's designed that you can sort of wrap it around and tie loosely and then fluff up. And I was not a little scarf person until I made my palmetto shawl, which is a little bit bigger. Real quick about the palmetto shawl. It was supposed to be a large shawl that would wrap around, and I got bored, so I decided to make it smaller. And the nice thing about it is that it is small. I can just chuck it in my bag, and anytime I'm a little bit chilly, wrap it around in like immediate comfort and warmth, because it's warming up the back of your neck and keeping things just a little bit cozy. But it's a very bright, like raspberry red, which isn't necessarily a color that I wear all the time. So I wanted to do something that was a little bit more neutral, well, a lot bit more neutral. And that is when I came up with this little seed stitch scarflet. It was a super quick knit. I knit it in about a day, just at a farmer's market. It's a super simple seed stitch ribbon, increases, work flat, decrease, seed stitch ribbon, and you're done, you're out. So that is what I've been working on, and I've launched the test knit for it. Again, that's in the description if you're interested. And I'm hoping to release the pattern in probably October, mid-early October. I kind of feel silly that I'm naming it the September Scarflet, even though it'll probably come out in October. But this is when I'm making it, and by next year, who will care? So this is the pattern that I've been writing up. I've put marks on it because this is a draft that I was editing. But it was really fun. I got my partner to go out to take photos of me with it, and you know, I just got to organize all my notes, and I'm really excited. This is really cool for me. I've always said that I didn't want to make knitting into my business, because I've already kind of shifted my artistic, like drawing, painting side into a business, and I wanted to keep knitting as a distinct hobby. However, sort of the like gray area in there is that I'm happy to come up with creative patterns and write all of my notes down and then publish them as patterns that other people can make them too. And that still feels very much like a creative pursuit. A little bit about my own knitting history also is that I started knitting forever ago. I knit and crocheted since I was really little. And when I started, I didn't know how to read patterns. I think I was like 6. Of course I didn't know how to read a pattern. So I was just making stuff up. And that continued well through my early 20s until I only recently started to use proper patterns. I think maybe in the past couple of years even is when I really started. And I've learned a lot from reading patterns and learning how to knit from other people's experience, especially like sweaters. My first couple of sweaters that I put together were ill-fitting because I forgot or didn't know to do short row shaping. My neck was too wide. The sleeves didn't set in correctly. All these things, even though they were wearable and I loved making them, ultimately not the right construction. So spending time following along with other patterns has been really advantageous to my like growth and development as a knitter. And now I'm kind of feeling like there are some things that I envision in my head that I would love to have as knitwear, but I can't find a pattern to match it. So that's kind of when it comes time to make your own. And then on top of that, I feel like I have the interest, desire, skill, ability, etc. to create a pattern that's available and published for others. So that is kind of what I'm doing, and it's really fun. I'm very satisfied. I don't know how far I'll go with it. I don't know if I'm suddenly going to like be a knitwear designer. I don't think that that's my intention, but I do certainly want to offer patterns for little things like an accessory scarf or socks, or there's a fingerless mitten pattern that I often make for myself that I'd love to write up for others. So yeah, this is the first of probably many. And even though it's such a small project, I am so proud of it. And I hope that it's a pleasure for you to knit when the pattern comes out. Again, I'm aiming for like early October, but who knows exactly when that will come out. I think I need to wait to receive back some feedback from the test knit and just make sure that everything is smooth, and also the uploading to Ravelry process. I need to learn how to do that and make sure that it works well. So this is the September Scarflette, and I'll share too a whip real quick, which is that I am also knitting a second one here. This is a little bit of Cardiff cashmere that I had in stash. I don't have the tag anymore, so I don't know exactly what color this is, and I bought it years ago, but I believe it's their blush pink or Zen colorway. It's such a pale pink, it's almost a white. It's like a pink toned white. So I am working on a second September Scarflette in the Cardiff cashmere, and part of the reason why I'm knitting this in the Cardiff cashmere is because I want to make sure that one can be knit from one ball of cashmere, at least on like the first or second size range. I did do the yarn calculations for the Fiber Company Road to China light in this colorway, in this fiber makeup. And so for this size, which is size 1, which is for, I need to check my notes to make sure I get all the sizes right. So size 1 is 13 to 15 inches for your neck. And then size 2 is 15 to 17, size 3, 17 to 19, size 4, 19 to 21. I think that these are appropriate size ranges, but if we need more, I will definitely add them. Have no fear. We want size inclusivity, and we'll definitely get some more feedback on if I'm adding sizes or not after the test knit. But for now, I have those 4 sizes, and so to knit size 1, it's roughly 25 grams, size 2, 31 grams, size 3, 37 grams, and then size 4 would be 43 grams. And that's coming in at about, we'll just say from size 1 to size 4, it's anywhere from 85 yards or 78 meters to 140 yards or 128 meters. So that is how much yarn you would need to do this, at least in this sport weight. And they are knit on US 1s or 2.25 millimeter needles. You do not need to knit this on a DPN. It's just kind of what I have for this gauge. And I'm a little bit of a loose knit, so even knitting a sport weight on a US 1, I wanted it to be like a little bit tighter. And then Cardiff Cashmere, the classic, is also, it's listed as a DK weight. I would say it's a light DK, but DK nonetheless. So yeah, here's the second one. And then a quick note about yarns or needle size or gauge or anything. This particular pattern is so easily adaptable. You could make it with any yarn you wanted. You just have to be ready to adjust lengths and measurements for yourself. Like I've said, I'm just really excited about this pattern and sort of the work that went into it, feeling really creatively engaged and, you know, engaged in a way more than just the creative side, the math of it, the figuring out how to do it. It felt really good to have a challenge. And it was kind of like challenging algebra homework where you know that there's an answer and you know that there's a formula and you just have to figure it out and do it. And then once you follow through the steps, it's like, whoa, I figured it out. I got it. I did it. So, not that I'm a big math homework girl. In fact, I never did my math homework in school. But that doesn't mean that I didn't appreciate what you could get out of math homework if and when I tried. So, okay, that's enough of that metaphor. Now I've gotten myself distracted knitting a row. But it is just such a quick project, I kind of can't help myself. And the cashmere is so soft. So yeah, I'm knitting this second one just to make sure that I can knit it out of a 25 gram Cardiff Cashmere Classic, at least for the size 1. And that is what I've knit for myself. And you can see that there's a lot of extra ribbon. It wraps around really well. And I think that there's a lot of like variation. You could even make this part wider if you wanted to. I'm just making a pattern and you can do with it what you want. All right, we're gonna have to move on from the September Scarflette, otherwise I'll talk about it all day. But I will share with you the next pattern that I put together. So this is I'm calling them Eyelet Socks right now, but this is another finished object. I finished these 2 socks. I finished these maybe a week ago and blocked them and everything. These socks started out as a gift for my mother-in-law-to-be for Christmas. And I am thinking that I'm also going to write and release a pattern for these just because I couldn't find many options online on Ravelry for a simple eyelet sock like this. The closest pattern that I could find on Ravelry would probably be the Wildflowers and Honeycomb socks by This Handmade Life, but they're still different. The cuff is different, the heel flap is different. They're different enough that I still feel like I could launch a pattern. And at the end of the day, you know, there's only so many variations on socks that can be made. I was very inspired by this yarn to do something that was simple, but like a repeating pattern. And I love how they turned out. And I think that, or I hope that many others would be interested in a pattern as well. So it's a pretty simple one. I did a 64 stitch cast on and then repeated these 2 motifs back and forth. Pretty simple heel flap, gusset, toe. Nothing crazy, but it is going to take me a little bit of time to write a pattern, and then I also want to knit up a smaller size and a larger size, that this is the medium, and that might take a little bit of time. There is no test knit yet for these socks, but there will be one. There will be. I feel like I should knit these in a proper sock yarn because these are knit in a non-sock yarn. It's the Fiber Company Cumbria Fingering in the colorway Scaffold Pike, and I love this yarn. It is soft yet rustic and exactly the kind of yarn that you want on your feet, except for the fact that it doesn't have any nylon or polyamide to it, so chances are they are going to need a darning sooner than we want. They are a gift for my mother-in-law to be, as I said, so I will just give her a little like coupon with the socks that say darning included, if and when it's needed. But I think it would be a good idea to knit an option in an actual sock yarn as well, so that when the pattern is released, I can give a few, like suggested yarns. This can be one of them because it's gorgeous, and then also a proper sock yarn. So be on the lookout for a test knit coming out for these guys soon. I'm going to start writing it and working on it pretty much right away, but I don't want to get too ahead of myself before I go through and like really figure out more sizing. I think a pattern like the September Scarflette was perfect to start with because the sizing is really just like how long you're making it. Not a whole lot of variation there, whereas socks have a little bit more variation. I would need to work in a lace stitch detail and figure out that between sizes, all sorts of things. Heel turn. So more to come on these, but really excited about them, and I had a great time making them, and I'm having a hard time thinking about letting them go. So I will likely have to just knit myself another pair. Just a really quick moment for acquisitions. I picked up some fat quarters of fabric from a local quilting shop this past week. So we have this one, this one, this one. This one's actually the one that I started with, and then I picked all the others based off of it. It has these really cute little birds. And then this green one. I'm planning to make myself a small project bag because at the moment I just use a lot of like gallon Ziploc bags, and I love Ziploc bags. I really do. I think that they're a brilliant and horribly wasteful, but brilliant invention, and I don't want to use them all the time. So sidebar, I reuse them like nobody's business. I'm washing them out and using them until they absolutely fall apart, but they're still plastic, so we're introducing some fabric. I'm not much of a sewer, but I can definitely manage some sort of like hand sewn project. So I got some thread. I'm going to stitch this together. I also had this fabric in my stash, so that one will go nicely with. And I'm probably going to just freeform throw something together as a little drawstring project bag for socks. Loosely modeled after the bag that I made for my mom for Mother's Day, which was a blue bag, and that was in a previous episode, but I forget which one. Somewhere around Mother's Day. If you go back, you'll see it. Some whip updates. I have, oh, here's one of my Ziploc bags. Okay, this is yarn that I've set aside to start a sock project, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do it or not yet. I haven't decided. So I wound this up. This is Bad Sheep Yarn, for which I am an affiliate, and if you'd like to shop, feel free to use the discount code MFS10 and you'll get a discount at checkout. This is the colorway Mountain Tundra in the Sport Weight Superwash. So I was thinking about using this combined with my leftover EYB Tenderfoot in the colorway Merlot, I think. This was yarn that I used for my quilty cabin socks, which are up there. And I will say, if anything, for this Tenderfoot yarn, it goes a long way. I still have some of the dark oak left, and I've used that on multiple socks. I've used this on multiple socks, and I feel like there's just so much of it. I mean, what is it? 410 yards, so it's like fairly standard for sock yarn, but it's just, it feels like a lot. Anyway, so I'm thinking about using this as the cuff, heel, toe, and then this for the body, leg, foot of the sock, and putting those together. This would be dad socks for Christmas, but I'm not sure if I'm going to knit him something different instead, so I'm holding off on this for now, even though it's like set up to go if and when I decide I really just like need to cast on socks. from there. The whip I'm the most excited about right now, other than sort of cranking through a few of these for fun, is my Harriet sweater. Ooh. So I haven't made a huge amount of progress, and I should also mention this past week or so I've had some wrist and arm pain that has kind of kept me from knitting. So I didn't get super far on this one, and then I also had a little bit of a dilemma in the color work. So let me see if I can get this organized to show you where we are at. So this is the Harriet sweater. I have split for the sleeves and the body, which is a relief because working color work in the round for the body and the sleeves felt like each row was never ending, and it's way faster when you're just doing the body. My dilemma that caused me to pause on this, I'm just gonna toss this over my shoulder because that's kind of the easiest way to show this. The dilemma came when I was working my color work, and well, really the first dilemma came, and you might remember from the last episode, when I realized that the pattern actually calls for 3 colors, not 2. So I thought it was just the body color and then 1 contrast color, but no, there was a third secret, very subtle third color mixed in there, and I had just totally didn't understand it until I got to the chart and there were these little dots in the chart. Okay, the cats were just getting into something, so I had to run and figure out what was going on, but I am back. Let's keep talking about the Harriet sweater. Get it draped again. So, yes, what was I saying? There were a few colors going on. I didn't realize that there was a third until I got to the chart and there were these dots, and they weren't pearls, they were a third color. So I went to pick up a third color to go with the yarn that I'd gotten. Now, the yarn that I had picked was the Junction Fiber Mill Savage Heart Farms Farm Fresh yarn. This is from Peggy, who, if you're familiar with Junction Fiber Mill, she and Amanda start and run it. They're friends and they started a business together. Really cool. So this is yarn from her sheep. And when this was launched, there was a third color, which was similar to this. This is not the Savage Heart Farms yarn, but it was very similar in color, so I thought, oh, I'll just try to find a third color that goes with these as intended. I wasn't able to get more of this yarn in the correct colorway because it sold out in like 4 minutes, but I was able to find this other local Vermont yarn at my local yarn store. This is I have to check the tag. This is a Heritage Finn sheep from Flower Power, Vermont. This is the card. So I found this, I was like, that's great, but I don't think I really accounted for the fact that this dark and light would have enormous contrast in the pattern. And when we're looking at the picture of how this Harriet sweater, like the sample is anyways, it's just this swath of very low contrast in the color work itself detail. Like it's just kind of a chunk of lighter color work, and there aren't really defined moments within the individual motifs, if that makes sense. And I'm not talking contrast between the main color and the contrast color, but more the stitches themselves. So in introducing a third, oh, I am dropping stitches. Here we go. A third, much darker color, I am thus breaking up that kind of like monotony and drawing distinct attention to specific points of the pattern, right? So up here, I was like, oh, this looks cool, it looks good. And then I got to the like flower portion of this pattern. And the way that it's written is that you start with the petals in the contrast color 1, and then you work and add basically just like 1 stripe of this darker color. Let's see if I can get it really close for you to see. So you add like kind of 1 stripe of this darker color, and then the middle is the lighter, and then there's another stripe of the darker color. And I had to like full stop at this point and think about it for, I think it's been like a week to decide if I was going to keep going or rip back or change the pattern or what I was going to do. So I was really concerned that this dark stripe on the white here is just going to look bad. Like it'll just look unintentional and kind of out of place. And my thoughts in like, how do I fix this is, do I knit the whole flower just in the white without the dark stripe? But then that kind of debalances other places where the dark is featured, because it happens below as well. And then the other thought that I had is, do I just knit the whole flower section dark and kind of like reverse what's going on here? And that was an appealing idea because I don't have a lot of this. I probably don't even have enough of this. I'm playing major yarn chicken. So my thought is that if I just omit a few rows of the white and fill it in with dark, then I'll buy myself some extra yardage. And that is still kind of an option, but it would involve ripping back and then reknitting, which I don't really want to do. And then also it would draw a lot of attention to the flowers in the middle of the pattern. And I really don't want to do that. I really don't want it to be a pattern that's suddenly like flower, you know? So what I'm thinking is that I'm just going to keep knitting it to pattern, because even though these kind of strange, maybe out of place stripes of dark through the flowers will be strange, I think that the overall cohesiveness of the piece, it needs to be in this small stripe, kind of like up here, even though these are shaped points, there's still like two small stripes, and then further in the pattern, it's still small stripings. So at this time, the plan is just to continue. And I'm feeling like after I've looked at it and thought about it a lot, and I ran it by who I hope is a knitting buddy of mine. I think we are knitting buddies in a way, but I don't know how the internet works. So anyway, we looked at it and I really appreciated the input from her, because I just needed some reassurance that I wasn't going to like ruin the piece. Hi, Kiwi. He is here to watch our neighborhood crows and squirrels. That is our main wildlife here, and he is all about it. So that is my main update for the Harriet sweater, is that I needed to take a little break for like wrist pain, and then I needed to take a break to look at the color work idea going on, and then I'm feeling ready to get back into it. My timeline is still that I'd like to have this done for Vermont Sheep and Wool, which is the first weekend in October. Today is, what day is today? Today is September 12th. So I should be able to get it done, as long as I get back to it from my break, because I knit most of this in like 2 days. It wasn't a lot of time, and the color work slows me down, but luckily I'm halfway through the color work here, and then there's just another portion, another half, and then it's stockinette in the round in just like the main color. And of course we'll wait and see if I run out of yarn, because that's also a whole other question with the sweater, is will I have enough yarn? My update for my Heirloom quilt cardigan is that I haven't made any progress knitting wise, but I am now calling it my Heirloom gilt cardigan, because I feel badly that I haven't gotten it done yet. I really need to just pick it up and get it done, but I keep getting distracted by other things that are really exciting, like designing a little scarflet or knitting a new little scarflet out of cashmere because it's luxurious, or socks, or my Harriet sweater. All of these things are keeping me really busy and keeping me from just getting the Heirloom gilt cardigan done. So I would love to see that one finished. It's going on 2 years now, 2.5 years. When did I start that one? I think I started it 2023. So it's time to get it done. I do not want to go into 2026 with that sweater incomplete. Quick bit of art news, and then travel, and then we'll talk about the wedding dress plans, and then we'll see where we're at for time. So art news is really just that I had shared about these sheep patch hats a little while ago, and I've ended up making them. Here they are. So each hat has a hand carved, hand stamped patch, and then I sew them on with fun yarn, or threads rather. Here's the third one. So I had many more of these, and it was amazing how quickly they went and how popular they were, but I was hoping that I would have more to share on the podcast with you before they all sold out. So of the 18, I just have these 3 left, which I'm going to post on my website. These will be available Saturday when the video comes out. So I will likely do another run of these, maybe in the springtime or maybe in the winter. I don't know when I'm going to do it, but I will probably do a second run of these just because they were popular and I wanted to make sure that I had plenty available through the podcast and through the website, and where I'm interacting with people who are more of fiber artist folks. And yeah, so I just wanted to show they are done. There aren't as many left as I'd wanted there to be left, and heading into the future, I will do some more. But if you want to get your hands on one now, go ahead and order. And then I have one other, well, technically 4 other new things to add to the shop today. So I have some new stickers that go with my seasons collection. So here are the seasons. We have, you might remember these from last spring. We have spring, summer, autumn, and winter. So I launched these stickers and like this whole collection, I want to say February, March of this year. And then since then I've added a few designs into a garland and then also as stickers. So then we have this little stump, the maple leaf, a little like amethyst quartz crystal, and a little mushroom. So they're all really cute little nature things, and the whole collection all together, all the stickers and all the garlands, are seasonal celebrations just because they're lovely little nature things that you'd find throughout the seasons. I thought that of the new stickers, the mushroom would be like the fan favorite because it's really cute and everybody loves mushrooms. But interestingly, no, it's the stump is everybody's favorite. And I think that it's great because I was nervous to include the stump in the collection. I was kind of like, I love it. I think it's cute. I mean, look at its little leaf. And I thought, no one's gonna want a stump sticker. But it turns out you all see the vision too. And I'm so happy because I really wanted to include it. And it was just a good moment of like trusting gut and intuition in design and showing up with it and people liking it. So here they all are. I am really pleased with the stickers. For those of you who are interested too, I do get my stickers printed for me, but they get printed at Sticky Brand, which is actually like right down the road from me. It's a local company to us here in the Burlington, Vermont area, which is funny because it's also like a big sticker company. So new stickers and sheep hats. They are online on the website, and please feel free to use the code MOTHPOD if you choose to make an order through the website. I give a little bit of discount for you watching the podcast, and then also when I see it, I know that you're from the podcast, which is fun for me. So thank you, and I appreciate any support and orders for my little small arts business. The last little bit of art news is that I have started a membership, or kind of like a little residency, at a local ceramic studio up in Underhill, Vermont. Oh, you doing a big jump? He did a big jump. He loves to jump from there and then like shuffle himself under the sheepskin. Okay, yeah, so the ceramic studio in Underhill, it's called First House Pottery. They offer classes and workshops and camps and all sorts of really cool things. And then there are a few of us who have a membership monthly where we can go in for open studio time and use the clay, which is really cool. I keep forgetting to take pictures of the things that I've been working on, but eventually I'll get some photos in here. It's very bright. It's just a nice place to work, and I'm enjoying getting my hands on some clay, just doing something that's not at all related to business or being in my house or in my studio, but I'm still doing something creative, and that's really good to like get some fresh ideas, fresh inspiration, and I'm just really enjoying it. So there's more to come on that, and if you're interested in checking out some of their classes locally, I highly recommend it. First House Pottery, and it's just a great experience. Update on travel plans and fall knitting plans, and then we're going to talk about the wedding dress design. The first update for fall travel plans is that I will be going to the Vermont Sheep and Wool Festival on Sunday, October 5th. If you are going as well, please say hi. I would love to visit, and I'm also thinking about bringing some little sheep stickers to give away. So if you see me, say hi and ask for a sticker. Don't be bashful. I'll give you one. And that also goes for Rhinebeck, which I am also planning to attend. It's official. I'm going. I have a place to stay. I have a plan. I was talking last episode about like driving back and forth from my grandparents, but that honestly is way too much driving for me. So I talked to my dad and was like, do you want to go camping with me if we can find a campsite like nearby the festival? And we found one, and he wanted to go with me. So we're gonna drive down and camp for the whole weekend and go to the Rhinebeck together. Again, if you see me or us at the festival, please stop us. We'll have stickers. We want to give them away to you, and it'll just be fun to go with him. He's a good like buddy to go with to these kinds of things, and also he'll make sure that we have like a cozy camping spot. So I'm excited. It'll be a fun little like father-daughter trip, and of course going to the festival itself is going to be really exciting. I am really looking forward to meeting people, just seeing everything. As far as fall knitting plans go, I do have projects that I'm trying to finish up, like my sweaters, and then I want to make a few more of these for gifts and socks also for gifts. So I kind of have like from now to Christmas time booked for the most part, but I did go through and I was looking at Ravelry, trying to decide if I was going to do like a fall knitting pattern roundup or things that I might be on the lookout for at Rhinebeck to order like a sweater's quantity, or not order, but buy a sweater's quantity worth of yarn for. What am I looking for and what quantities? So I did a little bit of a pattern roundup, and I'm not sharing it yet because I have this whole other update and idea that I've decided on, which is that I'm going to knit a wedding dress. So a lot of those plans that I thought like, oh yeah, I'll just pick up yarn for this sweater, I am now thinking that I need to just like pause that altogether to make sure that I have time and space and like strength in my arm to knit this dress. But I still did some work to figure out some patterns that I liked, so I'll probably like present a fall knitting pattern roundup and Rhinebeck like vlog or something all together in one. And at the end of the day, like if I buy a sweater's quantity worth of yarn from Rhinebeck and I don't use it until next year, I'm gonna be okay with that. So that's just like all to say. My shopping list for Rhinebeck is kind of small in that I don't think I really need anything right now. I would enjoy getting a braid of like lovely spinning fiber that I see. If I'm like really drawn to some colors or fiber, I would absolutely pick that up. And then if I'm finding a yarn that's just like the perfect yarn to do a really simple sweater with, I might pick that up as well, but to be determined. I guess I'm just having a hard time finding a sweater pattern that I am really drawn to and really want to make. And I think part of it is that I haven't found a yarn that I want to use for the sweater. So maybe in going to Rhinebeck, I'll be like, oh my God, no, that's the yarn. And then it doesn't even matter what sweater I make. So yeah, gosh, I'm really rambling. I just mean to say I might get a sweater's quantity worth of yarn and probably some spinning fibers and maybe like one or two other small things. If I see sock yarn, I can't resist. But I don't have a huge, like very distinctive shopping list for Rhinebeck or Vermont sheep and wool. Also for Rhinebeck, I'm gonna try to do a little bit of a vlog for it, but honestly, I don't know if I'm gonna be good at it. It's hard for me to stop in the moment and like whip out my camera to take a photo or take a video, but I will do my best. Okay, I think it is time to talk about the wedding dress. So I am very excited about this. I think it is a good decision, and yes, I'm sure that some of you are very worried about this for me. I think that there have been comments, especially around like if I was going to sew my own wedding dress, that it would be a lot of extra work and could I handle it and all of these things. And I do genuinely appreciate that perspective, but I am a stubborn creature, and that kind of like advice is only going to fuel me to be like, yeah, it's going to be really hard and a challenge, and then I can do it. Yeah, I have no other reason to do it other than like, why not? I mean, there are a few other reasons. I couldn't really find other dresses that I liked. Why not? Those are my two reasons. So I'm really excited for this. I think it's going to be a very satisfying challenge, and I'm looking forward to documenting it along the way. In fact, I have already started recording the other day for a project vlog, so that as I go through this project at each step along the way, so I'll add each segment of the vlog into my regular podcast episodes, and then also when the project is totally done and I'm wed and it's all over and the dress is beautiful and complete and there were no problems at all, I'll have a whole project vlog to put together and share about my process, because I talk about this in the video that's upcoming, but part of the reason that I felt like I could do this is because I watched another project vlog, and I want to empower anyone and everyone to knit their own wedding dress if they want to. So I'm just gonna hop over into sharing the first segment of the project vlog. Welcome to the very first segment of what I hope to be a long and successful project vlog for my hand knit wedding dress. Oof, this is exciting to say and also terrifying to say, because it is a massive project. But why wouldn't I knit my own wedding dress, you know? I really think I can do it. I feel inspired and passionate about it. And honestly, I can't find any other wedding dresses that I like. There was one that I thought I might sew, but I don't sew. I don't know how to, and I do know how to knit, and I'm excited and passionate about knitting. So we're gonna give it a really good try. I think we should probably start with some of my inspirations and how I came to deciding that I could do this. So I've been looking at every single picture of every single wedding dress that exists online, and I distinctly don't care for many of them. And then the ones that I do like are very much outside of my price range by like $20,000 outside of my price range. And then the other ones that I think I might like the look of or like wearing are the wrong tone for our wedding venue, which is a campground. And it's a lovely woodland campground. Everybody's going to be kind of like perching in trees and on rocks, and it's going to be very whimsical woodland. But it's also not the place to have something that's like very formal. And for context, my bridesmaids are wearing like a pretty simple square neck linen sundress. So, you know, you want everything to be cohesive, at least. Or at least I want everything to be cohesive or look like they go together or nothing's like completely mismatched. So trying to find a dress that I like, that's in my price range and matches the tone, has been a challenge. One that has turned up with pretty much one option, and that is this dress that I was thinking about sewing, which is a really cool dress. I like it a lot. I think that if I needed to, I could probably figure out how to sew that dress. It's not a terribly complicated pattern. I did actually purchase it to try it. But also it's not really a skill that I have right now, and I don't feel as confident working on something like that. So in all of my research, I stumbled across a post or a vlog or something about Kika or Veronica Lindbergh's wedding dress that she made. So this is the project vlog, and there's a link below for you to find it. This has been my main inspiration and something that has kicked me over into thinking, yes, I can do this. First of all, she knit her dress in 6 weeks while moving, while preparing for her wedding, because she had 6 weeks until the wedding day to make it. And she was moving and just getting on with normal life at the same time. And that's wild to me. That is intense. Granted, she's a knitwear designer. She's very prolific. Clearly, she is a fantastic knittress. I am not at that level, but I do believe that in my timeline of like 7+ months, I can probably get it done. Now, let's talk timeline for a moment, and then we'll come back to our inspirations. My timeline is such that I have over 7 months to get this done. It's September 4th today, and so I have pretty much all of September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, and then mid-May is the wedding. So I'm not even going to count May, and if I don't even count September, I've got 7 months. Now, I'm going to say there's not a whole lot that I'm going to get done on this project before Christmas time, because I have so many other projects to finish up, especially in time for fall knitting festivals and then Christmas time. I might get part of this dress done, but for the most part, this is going to be a January through April 4-month project that I have. Still think it's doable, but that's my timeline. Okay, let's bring it back to our inspirations. So Veronica Lindbergh, or Kika, she put together this whole project vlog and documented her process of making this wedding dress, which I am so thankful for, because it really helped me feel confident in just figuring out, oh, okay, yeah, I could do this. And I didn't have to find a dress that I liked or a pattern that I liked, but I could kind of piece it together. So that is what I have been working on as far as the sketch goes. And let's take a look at my sketch that I've put together. I'm gonna look down here while I have it on the screen, because I have it on my other screen down here. Okay, so pardon my lack of eye contact. So this is the dress that I have sketched out for myself, and it is ambitious for sure. There are a few different details going on with it that I think are going to make it a little bit easier, and this is where I'm pulling direct inspiration from Kika's dress. In particular, the bodice construction. How she worked on hers was to basically make a band that went around her bust, and also she used a combo of knitting and crochet, which I may end up doing as well. The crochet acted as structure in the garment, as well as some like interesting details, and I think she also crochets and really wanted to honor both crafts in the piece, which is so sweet. So my plan is that the bodice part can be knit in a very modular way. So the center panel, which is going to be a cable pattern, and then some details, cable, a little bit of ribbing on the side for fit, and then a sort of a scoop. Actually, I would love it if the neckline kind of resembles what this tank top is doing right here. Granted, a much wider strap, but as far as the cut on the front here, I think that that's nice, maybe a little bit wider. Actually, definitely a little bit wider, but we'll get to that when we get there. I think that that's going to be relatively easy to accomplish. I feel pretty confident that I can figure out the decreases and increases and construction and everything. And then my plan for the back is not to have a center panel, but rather leave it open for the time being. And so it would be one big band that goes around with the straps. And my reason for leaving it open, and actually a little bit smaller than I want it to be ultimately, is so that as I get closer to that wedding date, my body has been fluctuating with weight and shape a lot this past year. I think that I'm getting older, and myriad of other things are going on, and I don't know exactly what my fit will be. So I want to leave it open with the opportunity to create like a little button band closure system, or maybe I'll just knit it together at the end. I'm not sure. I'm not even remotely worried about that yet. The plan for the sleeves is to mirror the center panel that's coming down the front onto the sleeves, and this center panel is actually one that would be coming from the Sade or Sadie Sari Nordland sweater. This is a sweater that I knit in the past. Here's a picture of it. I knit this sweater years ago in the Concept by Katya cotton merino, like chained blown yarn that I love. It has really cool stitch definition. I forget the colorway now, but it's a dark gray. When I knit this sweater, I think it was my second sweater I'd ever knit, and I just didn't really have a full grasp of ease, negative ease and fit and everything. So it ended up, it fit me, but it was tight in a way that wasn't comfortable for me to go out into the world. So I actually gave this to my younger cousin as a birthday gift one year, and it lives with her. So I don't have it to show you, but here it is. And over the years, I have wondered, should I reknit this sweater? I love the lace and cable stitch going on. I guess it's cable, not lace, but I love the stitch down the center. I love the little tiny baubles, and I've just always wanted to redo it. But I haven't gotten to it, and there's plenty of other projects that I'm excited about, and it's always gets like pushed back. But what a wonderful opportunity to revisit that pattern on my wedding dress. So that's what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to sort of insert that center cable pattern onto the bodice and onto the sleeves. And then there's a little bit of a bell sleeve, and that's going to echo what's going on at the bottom of this skirt, but we'll get there in just a second. So checking Ravelry here. Once the bodice is done, I think I'm going to bind off, because this will get attached to the skirt later, and I really want to knit everything in sort of a modular way, in part so that the project just doesn't get too heavy to work on and move around, and like if it's cumbersome, that's what's going to be a really like big hindrance on getting this project done. So I'm going to work on the skirt separately, and my intention there is just to work stockinette with some like gentle circular increasing around the hips, and then some eyelets sprinkled in so that there's a little bit of a gradual ascension or descension into the lace stitch. And this lace stitch that I'd love to have on this skirt is very much inspired by this shawl pattern by Marianne Mace. It's called All These Dreams, and I think that this is just beautiful. The way that it kind of like comes into itself, it's a little bit graceful. I think that sprinkling in some eyelets around it to like will be great. So that's the plan for the skirt, and then there's some subtle like scalloping going on that will flow into the bottom of the skirt really nicely. And for the bottom of the skirt, this is where I'm bringing in actually a Veronica Lindbergh pattern, or Kika pattern. So this is the seashore skirt. The upper part of this skirt I'm not super into. It's a little bit like mermaidy fish fin for me, and it's perfect for being the seashore skirt, but I'm looking for a little bit more like woodland fairy vibes. But I do really like the bottom of this skirt and how it kind of flares. So I would be bringing in the lower portion of this skirt. There's sort of like an eyelet band, and then it goes into a lace stitch, and then a little like trim lace stitch at the very bottom. So I would love for that to be the bottom of the skirt, and then also be echoed in a little bit of like a fanned out sleeve. So those are all of my inspirations going on here. I think that this will come together really nicely. It is 3 distinctly different looking stitches and patterns that I have as examples, but I do think that once they're in a cohesive yarn and it's in the dress all together, I think it will look really nice. And as long as I'm paying attention to proportions and making sure that things gradually fade into each other, no problem. One thing that's going to significantly help make this project easier, basically, is to work in chunks, as I've been saying. And I'm thinking that the bodice and sleeves are going to be one unit. That's basically a sweater. That's pretty doable. And then the upper skirt would be one section. The eyelet band might be its own section that I knit sideways and then graft or seam together. And then the lower part of the skirt will be its own section. And part of the reason that I'm doing that is so that I have some play with length. When you have this much fabric going on, it's going to get pretty heavy, and how much stretch it has, how it fits on my body. I really won't know until I start working on it. I've given it a couple of soaks and blocks, so we are going to leave that sort of section down at the bottom that's blank. The TBD section is to be determined. I think that ultimately it will be some sort of a stockinette that like dips into a little bit of a eyelet stitch before we hit that like lacy area repeating pattern. But how much of that there is will completely be determined by the length necessities that I have. One other thought that I've been having for the bottom and for the little like bell sleeves is that I might hold the yarn single strand for those sections just to add a little bit of lacy look, like a diaphanous quality to it on those like fluttery bits, but to be determined. I think that the rest of it needs to be double knit, partially for a larger gauge to make this easier for me, and also because it will just add some like nice solidity to the piece. Speaking of yarn, which we probably should have talked about earlier, is I'm thinking about knitting this with Knitting for Olive pure silk, which is actually what Veronica Lindbergh used in her dress as well, and I think it turned out beautifully. It has amazing drape while holding enough structure for all of the cables and lace design details. I ordered a sample ball of Knitting for Olive pure silk in the colorway Cream. I wanted to see it in person because one of the issues that I have with whites is that if it is not cool toned enough, it kind of just looks like I've slathered myself with butter when I wear white that's too warm toned, and that is not the look that we are going for at all. So I wanted to get it in hand, make sure that it's going to be the right tone white, and then I will be hopefully pleased and impressed and ordering about 20 balls of it, because I need upwards of 3,000 or 4,000 yards, because most of this dress will be held double and it's just going to take a lot of yarn. It's a big project. So I'm kind of excited for that, and also like, oh gosh, that's a lot. I think once I have that much yarn in front of me, I will realize how much yarn it is. Now, if I don't need all of that yarn, which I honestly don't think I will sell it off at the end, because I know Knitting for Olive is a little bit coveted at the moment. Of course, they've just ended their US shipping. I don't know if or when that will start up again. So at the moment, my plan is to get the ball that I have ordered to test, and then I will try to reach out to stockists or resellers and say, can I just do a bulk order? I'll cover duties, that kind of thing. So that's to be determined, and I'm sure I'll figure it out in a later episode if I'm going to even use that yarn or go for a different option. But my plan is a plant or non-stretchy fiber like silk. Even though silk is a protein fiber, it kind of gets wrapped into that like non-stretchy cellulose fiber family always, because it's kind of like a summer yarn. Anyway, so silk or linen or cotton or blends of those are on the table for what to use, but I do think that the silk from Knitting for Olive will be really nice because it'll have a little bit of a bloom to it, whereas other yarns that I've been using, like the Ritual Dyes Undine, it has like no bloom to it whatsoever, and I don't think that that would be an appropriate choice. So this is the first day that I'm thinking about this. I've drawn out my sketch. I have an idea. I've sort of gone through different knitting patterns on Ravelry to figure out my rough gauge and yarn requirements and all of these things, but I think that the next step is just to wait until the yarn arrives and decide if it's the right color or not. Okay, I'm sorry for the continuity interruption here. So I had recorded the end of the podcast episode, and I was talking about the Knitting for Olive yarn and how it hadn't arrived yet, and then, you know what, a couple of hours later it's here. So this is very exciting. My Knitting for Olive pure silk in the colorway Cream has arrived. It is a very cute little something. I was so worried that this would not be the right tone white, and honestly on camera it's just not coming up correctly. Even if I put it over towards the window, you can start to see it does have enough of a cool tone to it that I think it's going to work for my skin tone. Again, camera lighting, it isn't quite right. I am a fairly like cool toned pink person, and if I wear something that's too yellow or like warm toned, it just looks quite bad. So something that has a lot of luminosity or a crisp coolness to it is going to be perfect when you stick this over in the light. Even though this is like way overexposed, I think you can see that the light is bouncing off of it. And since I'm going to be getting married outside in early May, I think that the light is going to be great. This is the yarn. We're pulling the trigger. I'm going to do it. My next step is to go down to our local yarn store and place a rather large order to make sure that I can have enough to knit the dress. So yeah, this is very exciting. It suddenly makes the project so much more real, and the next step is to start swatching. Now, for anyone who's still like, oh gosh, Suni, you're gonna be knitting your own wedding dress. This is crazy and insane and too much work to do. At least I'm not also knitting a wedding sweater for my partner, because yes, that would be too much to do. And no, it's actually not off the table. If I get to like February and I still have time, like if my dress is done in February and I still feel like I have time to knit a wedding sweater for my partner before, or maybe even just like a vest before May is when we're getting married, I might do it. But that is not the plan. The plan is the wedding dress, and I'm gonna get that done. And then if and when I decide I can or want to add in more work for myself, then we'll talk about it. But for now, just the wedding dress. Just the wedding dress. I think that that's all that I have this week for you. And it's been a lot to cover, but I'm pretty excited about all of it. And I feel like I'm setting myself up for some really fun and exciting things to work on heading into the future here, at least between now and the wedding time with this dress, and then also holidays with all of the little gift knits that I'm doing, new patterns coming out. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. As always, feel free to drop a comment below. Let me know what you're working on, what you're thinking. If you feel like knitting my own wedding dress is a heinous idea, feel free to tell me. It's only going to add fuel to my fire though, just to warn you. And I think, oh, Lucy, you're here to say goodbye. Go ahead and like, subscribe, reach out to me. I'm available through Instagram and my website, and I hope to see you next time, or you see me next time, or however this works. I appreciate it. It's wonderful to spend time with you creating these videos, and then hopefully you're enjoying watching while you're working on stuff. So I will say goodbye and have a lovely couple of weeks until the next episode.